What's up, everyone? It's Matt Mrozek, and this is the latest piece off of the bench. This is Pearl, a 1/5 scale kit produced by Filmy's Girls and Mark Havacan. Right at the beginning, there's no STL, there's no digital sculpt, there's no file. Don't ask where to get. You can contact Mark for a kit if you want, but he doesn't have any. Kit is only available on the open market. So this is produced by Filmy's Girls and Mark Havacan. Again, there's no digital file, no STL. Any questions that relate to that, I will not answer. If you offer to sculpt this for someone, I will send Mark's lawyers after you. If you offer to copy this for someone, I will send Mark's lawyers after you for IP infringement. So anyway, get that out of the way. This is a great kit by Mark Havacan. The reason I say all this stuff up front, he's been having issues lately with people stealing his IP and offering to sculpt pieces for him, or sculpt pieces that he's done for other people. And I've got a lot of replies on my Facebook page from 3D sculptors and digital creators offering to sculpt these pieces for other people. Do not do it. Anyway, again, this is Pearl from Mark Havacan and Filmy's Girls. This is a companion piece to Judy that I did last year. This is for Tony, the same client I did Judy for, and we're gonna do the whole lineup of Filmy's Girls for him. This is the second one I've done. This is a kit that I personally bought years ago, and when Tony reached out to me, he's like, I really like to get the whole set. I was like, man, you got some work ahead of you because these are really hard to get. They don't come up for sale very often on the open market. Mark doesn't have any more of these, but I did mention I have quite a few in my personal stash that if you wanted to buy them and put them in his queue, he's free to do so. So he bought all my Filmy's Girls that I personally owned, and this is one of them. And this is what I've been wanting to do for a long time because it's one of Mark's most popular kits, and I think you can see why. It is a fantastic sculpt. It's sculpted by Roberto von Braun. Oh my gosh, Roberto von Bear, if I can say that correctly. And here's the box and the artwork for it. See if I get this in frame. So here's the artwork, the box. Sculpted Roberto von Bear, 1/5 scale. This was put out in 2015, based on Simon Eckert's 2D illustration that he did for Mark. And what a fantastic piece. What's great about this is just the amount of motion and flow in it. And as with all Filmy's kits, it tells a story. So Pearl is a scuba diver, as you can see, and she has gone down and she has stolen the pearl out of this large clam. And the eel and the octopus aren't too happy about it, so they're trying to get it away from her. So all Mark's kits have a critter or something going on with it. This one has two critters. We got the cool octopus and we got the eel. I'll come in closer on some of this because I'm really proud of some of the paint work on this personally. But yeah, I just want to kind of give you an overview of the kit and the paint. The original, the artist proof that Jim Capone painted years ago. Actually, no, did Jim do this one? No, I don't think Jim did this one. I can't remember who painted the artist proof for this, to be honest. So I'm not going to say Jim because it may not be him. Just used the original 2D art as a guide. So they did oranges and reds. We kept it kind of in the blue family. I did keep the suit white like the original artwork. And the only thing I really changed color-wise are the color of the fins. I did blue and white, I did orange and white. I did the tank in blue, a metallic blue. The leather is pretty similar to the original artwork, and I did a way different octopus than what's original. This is kind of based on some reference Tony gave to me what to do. And then the eel, I did a bright green rather than orange. So I looked at pictures of real eels and used that as a guide, and this is what I came up with. So as you can see, lots of flow. The flippers are fantastically sculpted and have a lot of motion. I mean, she looks like she's floating in water. It's really, really cool. Great sculpt. Engineering is fantastic on this. As far as the way she's supported. Now, she is a challenging kit. I would have never attempted this kit 5 years ago, 6 years ago. It is not a beginner's kit, and I'll go to more detail about that. But the engineering, as far as like the way she's supported, and sorry about the dogs in the background, as usual. Shut up! So you get to hear me yell at the dogs. It's just my life. It's always something going on in the house because my work area is open to the whole house. Anyway, so the engineering, as far as her being supported and by the tank and everything, is great. The only, it's not really critique. It's kind of an observation. It has to do with the sculpt, and I questioned it over and over again. And then I asked someone about it, and they explained to me why. And I'll come in close to you, and I'll come in close and explain to what I was a little confused about. So I did a lot of live live sessions on this, where I basically turned the camera on at 8 o'clock in the morning and recorded for 8 hours straight. So if you want to go through my live videos, you'll see a good portion of this being built and painted. I didn't haven't done it in a few days. I've been in jury duty for the past week, so I've been working at night on this, and then today's Saturday and finishing up on Saturday. But yeah, I'm really proud of this. I think it looks great. I think Tony's going to love it. It's going to look great in his cabinet along with all the other Filmy's Girls kits we're going to do. So let's come in closer a little bit and go over some of the paint work. Now, it's not showing up in camera so much, but in person, she's got a little bit of a tan. And I'm going to call it like sun-kissed tan because she's got like a pale skin tone, but I did add a little like tan to her. So she looks like she's been out in the sun. And what I'm seeing in the back of my phone, she's looking a little paler than what I'm seeing in person. The flippers were kind of challenging because of the masking. I mean, I tried to hand paint it first and it was not working, so I went ahead and masked them. Just get that really clean line. That's a custom mixed blue. The white is just plain white. The leather is like 3 or 4 different layers of browns and leathers and stuff. But we're going to work from the top down. So again, just kind of mentioning the flippers. The sculpt is beautiful. I love the way her feet curve. But there's a little octopus. So Tony sent me this reference for an octopus, and it was an illustration, and it was really bright colors and a ton of detail in it. I'm like, well, this guy's really small, but I'm going to use that as a color guide, and it looks fantastic because we kind of have a blue color scheme going through this thing. And he's wrapped around her leg, and he's reaching out to try to grab the pearl from her. So I really love the way this octopus came out. Now, if Mark watches this, he can't get mad at me because I'm gonna I'm gonna talk about the kit a little bit. The kit overall is very good. Mark puts out a fantastic kit. I can never say enough about Mark's kits because you get a lot for what you pay for. The sculpts are the best in the business. Oh, bummer! I just saw a touch up right there. That's how it always goes. I just saw that. Let's see if I can wipe it off. Hopefully I can wipe this off. If not, I'll have to touch it up with some paint. Oh, good. Thank God it's on the outside. Back to Mark's kits. Mark produces a fantastic kit. No one in the garage kit industry does what Mark does, which are these really classy, sexy pinup style kits. They're very tasteful. It's something that anyone could be proud to put on their shelf after they're done being built. There's nothing crass about them. And the quality overall is very, very good. This one was a little challenging. The cleanup on it was a little more than I'm used to. Now, this is an older kit, so it's like, almost 10 years ago this was put out. So the cleanup on the octopus was very challenging, and it's still not perfect. I noticed some things that I missed after painting, but once it's on her, you don't notice it. But it was challenging. In order to paint her, you have to put. Technically, I guess if you got the fit really good in the legs, you could paint the legs separately off of the body. But I went ahead and glued the legs on because my kit. There was a really thin detail line here in the suit that basically it was completely like cracked off because it was really, really thin resin. So I basically glued the leg on and resculpted the bikini line on both sides of the legs and just filled in that detail line. It's a very small thing that I don't think anyone's going to notice, but that was a little bit more work than I'm used to as far as like Mark's kits go. But I did have to go back and resculpt the suit line on both sides of the legs because that whole little edge was basically missing. It was cracked off. Again, I got a little thing here. What am I getting? I must have something. Just my gloves are dirty. So luckily this is on the last coat of sealer. I can wipe it off. So that was a little bit challenging. You have to put the arms on because there's seams here and seams underneath here that you have to putty and sculpt and all that stuff. So you have to put her all together before you paint the skin, which makes masking a challenge because I use tape. I would never try to silly put it, especially with white, because touching up white is a nightmare because it takes like 5 or 6 coats to touch it up. And I did have some white touch up, but you just can't go in there with the brush real quick and touch it up. So that was challenging. The skin was actually it went pretty quick. Let's see if I can bring my exposure down just a little bit to get her closer to what I'm seeing. That's probably a little more accurate right there. This brings out the tanness in her skin some more. But yeah, so anyway, you have to put her all together before you do the skin, and that makes painting the face is a challenge because there's the neck is detached, so there's a big seam, not a big seam, but there's a pretty good seam on the back of the neck. It goes underneath the chin, so you got to fill that in and sculpt it, and that's just a real hard area to get into. And then since all the stuff is on her, it's really hard to paint the face because it's a weird angle. You got to kind of turn her upside down. So it was challenging just to paint it after it's put together. So that's why I would have never attempted this like 5 years ago, because I'd been like, man, it's just way above my comfort level of what I could do. But I've done so many kits now, I feel totally comfortable in doing something like this. It's a little more challenging and takes some more problem solving. So anyway, again, so we got this octopus, really cool. I did a lot of underpaint under this blue. We got these little dots and there's some texture underneath there. I brought a real bright orange. I went in with some shading. I did the underside on the suckers like a yellow, just to kind of reference the illustration that was sent to me as a guide. And then the eyes are just hand painted to kind of reference the guide too, kind of like a bright glowing yellowish orange. Skin tones are a combination of Army Painter paints. Actually, it's mostly Army Painter paints. I'm not gonna go over all the colors because again, skin is like, it's like 10 different layers and you just can't, it's shading. I did end up, after I got all the painting done and I got to the point where I was like, okay, I think I'm happy where everything is. After I got the suit painted and everything unmasked, I did go in with some pastels and add a little more shadow into something that's like here in the butt area and behind the legs, and up here you can see a little more. I did go into some pastels and do some very, very light pastel work just to give it a little more dimension, and that was, boom, it brought it home. Again, the suit is just plain white. There's no shading in the suit. I just left it solid white. Another tricky part of this kit is, I gotta go touch it up. I just glued the mask on. I see a shiny spot there. I gotta touch up with some matte coat. You have to glue the mask on, and there's two very little spots to do that. Not much glue area, and then you really can't see her face because she's got a mask on. So you have to come down way low, and obviously you can't see it right now. But when I take photos of it, I'll shine some light up in her face so you can see the eyes. But she's got this really kind of bright-eyed, like look of surprise, like she's being. So you can see there, she's like looking down at the eel, and she's got this look of surprise on her face. So great expression. It's hard to see because she's wearing a mask, but you got to wear a mask when you're scuba diving, otherwise you're going to drown. And she's holding a knife. You know, she got the pearl out with the knife. And Mark does provide several different pearls. There's like a gray, almost a black, a clear, and they're all different sizes. I just put the traditional white pearl in her hand. I think that looks great. The leather, again, it's just started out with the base coat. It's whole red is the base coat, and I dry brushed with red leather, and then I added some sand color to the red leather and dry brushed that again. So it's like 3 layers of shading. I did a black wash on all the lines and everything just to bring out those details. This air thing, what a motherfucker. I kept breaking this off of here. So I epoxied it, I super glued it, I sculpted. So I broke it like at least a dozen times, and hopefully it doesn't break again. So it's just, this is a real fragile part right here. So surprisingly, I did not break this off, but I broke this off of there 100 times. So I kept having to fix that. So you can see here, I actually have there goes the pearl. Don't drop the pearl. There we go. There it is. Okay. The pearl just sits in her hand. You could technically glue it in. But anyway, I actually created a fillet here, and hopefully it just looks like a weld, but there's no way around it to keep it from breaking again. The tank is pretty simple. It's a base coat of metallic blue. Oh, it's a rattle can of Duplicolor paint that I used for one of my Age of Apocalypse pieces. And then I shaded it with dark purple. So it got this kind of cool anodized blue with a little bit of purple shading. So the one thing I was questioning on the sculpt is, so her belt stops here and it stops down here. I don't know if you can see that, but to me it looked really, really weird. Like, that doesn't make sense. Why is that? Finally someone told me, like, oh, because the clam is holding onto her tank, that her belt broke on the backside, which makes sense. So the only thing I would have suggested, and again, this has to do with the sculpt, is maybe there should have been some leather pieces coming off of the tank up onto the belt, a little, just not touching it, but just kind of off to give it more of an indication that it had been broken. That's my only crit, really. So the clam we painted, he gave me a reference of not a clam, like I guess a giant oyster or a giant clam, and so that's why I had the color kind of coming up on the edge of the shell here, because the colors on those like kind of spill out of the clam or the oyster. So it's really not an oyster; it's more like a giant clam. So I kind of just used that, and I just put some rough textures in there were some dots and some streaks and stuff just to give it a little texture on the inside. And the outside I did a pearlescent with some shading. The rocks have some green washes and yellow washes, just so it's not gray. And then we have a couple other oysters here. One, they all have pearls in them. Oh, two of them have pearls, one does not. And those have been glued in. And then the eel was a lot of fun to paint because, again, I don't really paint creatures, but just using a couple of photos of real eels, I found this really bright green eel, and I used that as a guide. And I did all these kind of textures in here, and just a ton of shading, bright greens, dark greens, yellow shading, metallic blue eyes. And then just painted the plinth black. I did leave the stones a little on the semi-gloss side just to give them a little sense of being wet. And as you turn this, the pearl or the clam or whatever's oyster, it shimmers. It's got a pearlescent to it, so it's kind of a nice effect. Same with these clams; they have a pearlescent to it. But there you go. There's Pearl from Filmy's Girls. Really fun piece, challenging to do. I got to touch up here again. I always see touch ups. The work's never done. I constantly see things to touch up. But yeah, really fun piece. Shipping her is going to be a challenge because anyway, but it'll be fun. Anyway, oh my gosh, my brain is like mush right now because I've been in a courtroom for the past week, so it's literally melting out of my ears. But really fun piece, challenging to do. Like I said, I would not have attempted this 5 years ago. Overall, the kit was really good quality. You know, you have your normal mold lines to clean up, and there's some mold slips here and there. But again, this is one of Mark's older kits. The quality of his kits has gotten better, but they've always been good. I have I've done his Daphne kit, which is the very first one he did. I've done his Stella. His Stella was the first kit I ever did because it had the least amount of skin. Very good quality kit. And I don't know. I think he's done 3 or 4 runs of Pearl. I think he's done like 155 kits. This one is number, it's like 20. This one says 29. And I'm assuming it's from the first run. I don't know. I think it was higher, have a higher number. And also she's got her air hose, she spit it out. Her lips have a little pink on it. But I'm really happy with this. I think Tony's going to love it. It's going to look great in his cabinet. That's enough of me rambling on about this piece. I'm going to put some photos at the end for you guys to look at. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye.